The Orange County Sheriff's Office arrested this man and stacked 20 different misdemeanor criminal charges against him. He fled from the police during a traffic stop and fought the police during his arrest. Why wasn't he charged with a felony? And why did the state attorney's office drop the resisting without violence charge against him? All that's up next. A deputy with the Orange County Sheriff's Office tourist unit spotted this car in the parking lot of the Wawa located in the heart of International Drive, Orlando's tourist corridor. He ran the car's tag and realized that the vehicle's license plate was expired. That's a non-moving traffic infraction in Florida. No points on your license, $115 fine. The deputy wrote in his sworn arrest affidavit that after observing the non-moving traffic infraction, that he feared additional criminal activity was afoot. The officer witnessed a male exit from the driver's seat of the parked car, leave the car for an unspecified amount of time, and then he observed the defendant enter the driver's seat of the vehicle and drive away from him at a high rate of speed. What criminal activity is this officer talking about? The expired tag? If they have intelligence on this car or on this driver, they haven't mentioned in their police report. It doesn't even seem as though they have the driver identified. So why is he blocking off intersections in the parking lot? The guy gets out of his car, gets back into his car, and then for no reason, with no prompting by the police officer, just takes off out of the parking lot really quickly. The supervisor gives chase. So now the supervisor's chasing after this guy. Why? Expired tag? Is there anything else? I don't think they have anything else. So the supervisor is initially unable to overtake the driver. That initially is important because now we're talking about a potential pursuit. We engaged in trying to overtake a vehicle, it evaded us, and now we are re-engaging that same vehicle. That makes a lot more sense now why this police report and why these charges are made the way they are. There is no agency in the state of Florida that allows its officers to chase people for a non-moving traffic violation. It's just too dangerous for the people involved and for potential bystanders. In this scenario, we're talking about the heart of International Drive, Orlando's tourist corridor. It looks to me like they chased this car even though they weren't supposed to. Now, because the police officer is afraid of getting in trouble with the chain of command, he's trying to be very creative and very careful in his report writing so that he doesn't trigger any red flags. What do I mean by that? Certain type of actions police officers do warrant additional scrutiny. Anything involving high liability. Vehicle pursuits are one of those things. If a police officer is involved in a vehicle pursuit, that's a big deal, and a lot of eyes look at those arrest reports, look at those incident reports, and look at what happened. Because this officer engaged in an unauthorized pursuit, he doesn't want to trigger any red flags that's going to draw any additional attention to this police report. He and his supervisor did it. If they can get this report approved at the lowest level and not rise up the chain of command, nothing's ever going to come of this. This guy's going to go to jail and the case will close. If additional attention is drawn to this police report and the chain of command looks into it, they both might receive disciplinary action. It is my opinion that if a police officer is chasing a vehicle in violation of agency policy, that police officer is violating the law. If he drove recklessly while chasing that vehicle, he could be charged with reckless driving. Let me know what you think. All I have to go on is what this police officer wrote in his police report, what's available on the clerk of court's website, and my experience in law enforcement and reading between the lines. I might have this thing wrong. This is all starting to make sense with the stacking of the charges. The police officers are afraid of getting in trouble, so they can't charge the guy with anything serious that's going to draw attention to him. There goes flee and elude, there goes battery LEO, there goes resisting officer with violence. So what are they left with? They have an expired tag, which is a non-moving infraction. They have driving on a suspended license. And they have resisting officer without violence, which is a misdemeanor. I told you to do something, you didn't do it, it was a lawful order. In this case, the guy fled from the officer on foot after he crashed his car. That was the resist without violence. Officer yells stop, the guy doesn't stop, he continues running. There's the resisting charge. So we have 4 different charges, but they hit this guy for 20 different variations of driving on a suspended license. You see, this guy's license is a mess. Now, This guy's whole life is a mess. What the police officer did was wrote him a citation for each one of those suspensions. That's not proper, and the police officer knows that. That's an improper stacking of the charges. What the police officer could have done if he wanted to stack the charges here is he would have charged him twice. Once for driving on a suspended license when the officer saw him get out of the car the first time. That's one incident. He was driving to that point. And then another charge of driving on a suspended license when he got back into the car and he took off out of the Wawa parking lot. That's how you'd stack charges here, not for each individual suspension. I've pulled this officer's arrest and citation stats for the year. It doesn't appear that he's ever tagged people for license suspensions the way he did in this case. That further leads me to believe that this officer did this out of vengeance instead of just a training mistake. I don't agree with this bad guy's behavior, but he's not a public servant and the deputy is. Let's just assume I'm right that this was an unauthorized police pursuit. Does it bother you that this officer acted outside of his legal authority in order to catch someone else who was acting outside of their legal authority? Let me know down in the comments. Have you ever been in a situation where you thought you were going to have to defend yourself against an attacker? What would you do? Would you be covered legally? Florida has some really good stand your ground laws. If you're interested in that, learn about those, check out this video. I'll show you how we beat a couple cases using stand your ground. Hit it hard.